Okay, so I've got to smash all of this together. The Week 13 picks will be a different video, but I've really got to cram all of this together because I have a ton of stuff to do. So I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. Starting it off with the Week 12 recap. Kansas City was on a bye this week. Thursday night's game was... What game was that? Oh, Thursday's game was Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thursday's games, Chicago beat Detroit 23-16. Dallas beat Washington 31-23, and New Orleans beat Atlanta 31-17. Sunday's games, Baltimore beat Oakland 34-17. Buffalo beat Jacksonville 24-21. Seattle beat Carolina 30-27. Cleveland beat Cincinnati 35-20. New England beat the New York Jets 27-13. The Eagles got past the Giants 25-22. Tampa Bay beat San Francisco 27-9. The Chargers demolished the Cardinals 45-10. The Colts beat the Dolphins 27-24. Big Ben and the Steelers threw an interception on the 2-yard line. Denver won that game 24-17. That was in Denver. I predicted that. Sunday night game, Minnesota beat Green Bay, pretty much putting them out of their misery, 24-17. And then tonight, Houston beat Tennessee 34-17. Houston remains dominant. So we're going to do some playoff scenarios here. I've got some things written down, and this is just my prediction. There's definitely things that can go either or every Sunday. So this is just how I can kind of see it going. So right now, as it stands, Kansas City is the first seed at 9-2. Patriots are at the second seed at 8-3. The Ravens are at the sixth seed, 6-5. Texans are at the third seed, 8-3. Chargers are at the fifth seed, 8-3, and the Steelers are at the fourth seed, 7-3-1. So as it stands, the Ravens will travel to Houston, and the Chargers will travel to Pittsburgh. So, of course, there's some big things coming up in the next week. One of those games being Chargers and Steelers. So here's my predictions. The Chargers, they got to play at the Steelers. I think they'll lose that one. They didn't play very good in Denver. Or they didn't play good against Denver. And Pittsburgh lost to Denver on the 2-yard line because Big Ben threw an interception. Big Ben also could have refractured his finger in that game. I'm not sure. I know he had it looked at. Anyways, I still think they lose. The Chargers are not really that good against big-name teams. They just, man, they can't win in the AFC West, and they can't beat really good teams. They've been pounding really crappy teams, but they can't beat better teams. I'm going with the Steelers there. I do think they beat the Bengals the next week because they're playing at home. But they're definitely not going to beat the Steelers in Steel City. Then they got to come to Kansas City. I think they lose that game. They got to play against the Ravens. I think they lose that game. The Ravens are playing hot with Lamar Jackson in there. And they got to go at Denver, and I think they lose that one too. Denver knows they're playing spoiler, and Denver is a really hard place to play, and Denver's already beat them in California. So I have the Chargers projected 9-7 at the end of the season. Which doesn't really surprise me. Like I said, it could go either way, but that's what I got predicted. The Chiefs could either go, in my opinion, 14-2 or 13-3. The only game I really see them having problems with are the Seahawks and possibly the Ravens now. So maybe a 12-4 at worst. Because the Ravens are playing really hot right now, but they got to come to Kansas City to play that game. And the Raiders are bad. Lamar Jackson still threw 2 picks, and I just don't see Kansas City losing at home. I really don't. They're top notch at home. It's different on the road, but they're top notch at home. At the Raiders, win. At the Ravens, win that one. Or versus the Ravens, we win that one. Chargers got to come to Kansas City. Once in a blue moon, they might win that game. But I got Kansas City winning that one. That's going to seal up the AFC West right there. Then we got to travel to Seattle. This is the game I'm iffy on. Seattle plays really good at home. It's possible they could beat us. It's possible any of these teams could beat us, but they are more likely to beat us than anybody else on the schedule. And then we play the Raiders at the end of the season, and I think we win that one too. I don't think our starters get sat on the last game of the year because we're playing for a potential first seed. So 14-2 or at worst 13-3 is, I think, what we'll end up as. The Patriots, they got to play the Vikings. This was kind of a question mark for me at first, but I realized they're playing at Foxborough. I don't think the Vikings win that game. I don't think they're good enough to beat New England in New England. They could surprise me, but I don't think they will. The Dolphins, they've had problems at Miami before, but I don't think they will this time. I think they beat the Dolphins. They got to go to Pittsburgh. Now, I think they lose that game. Pittsburgh's played two really tough opponents. Not really tough opponents, but in really tough places. They didn't look so good against Jacksonville. It was at Jacksonville. They didn't look too good at Denver, and it was at Denver. But playing at home against the Patriots don't play as good on the road as they do at home, obviously, Tennessee. So I think the Steelers edge them on that one. And then they got to play at home against the Bills. At home against the Bills. I think they win that one. I think they beat the Jets, too, because they're playing at home against the Jets. Patriots, I project them to finish 12-4. They could just as easily go 13-3. Sorry. And if they went 13-3 and Kansas City went 13-3, they would get the number one seed because, well, Kansas City lost the tiebreaker to them. But we'll get to that in a minute because there's more than just those teams. The Steelers, I got them projected to finish 11-4-1. I think they'll beat the Chargers. I think they'll beat the Raiders. I think they'll beat the Patriots at home. I think they'll lose to the Saints. They got to go to New Orleans. I think they will get punished in that game. Nobody wants to play the Saints in the Superdome. Let's just face it. The Bengals, they got them at home. I think they'll beat the Bengals too. 11-4-1. Now, here's an interesting one because this is kind of a wild card. I got a whole ahead of myself. The Ravens, I got them finishing 10-6. I think they're a decent team. I think they can definitely win out. They don't have the Steelers in the rest of the schedule. I think they'll beat the Falcons. I think they'll come to Arrowhead and lose. I think they'll give us a hell of a fight, but I think they'll lose. They got to go to Tampa. I think they'll win that game. They got to play at Los Angeles against the Chargers. I think they'll win that game. And they got to play against the Browns, and I think they'll win that game. And I think their whole season is riding on one loss. So I think they go 10-6 and they win out. Or they go 10-6 and they only have one loss in the last part of their season. The Texans, here's an interesting one. I never expected this, but the Texans are good, and nobody talks about them. Nobody. But the Texans are a good football team this year. I think they finished 13-3. I think they win out. They literally have nobody on this schedule that could possibly beat them besides divisional teams. The only teams I could see spoiling it for them are the Colts or the Jaguars. And I don't really see the Jaguars doing it because they're playing like shit. But the Colts are on the uprise. They're fighting for a playoff spot. The Colts are in the hunt. And I looked at their schedule, and the Colts, that Jacksonville game the Texans game is what's gonna hinge their whole season. Like here I got oh my God, I can't talk. I'm trying to move so fast. I'm sorry. The Colts schedule, they got to go to Jacksonville. I think they'll win that game. They got to come to Houston. I think they'll lose that game. Then they play the Cowboys at home. The Cowboys are another team that's on the uprise trying to get a position. I think they'll beat the Cowboys. I think they're better than the Cowboys. Then they got to play the Giants. The Giants are playing a little bit better, but I think they'll beat them. And then they got to play the Titans, and I think they'll beat them. That puts them at 10-6 on the year. Now, that's where it gets interesting. They could knock the Chargers out of that playoff spot if they go Oh, man. All right, let me slow down. I'm trying to cram all this in here, so my apologies. I think if the Colts win out and their only loss is that Texans game, and the Chargers lose out and only win one game, It is possible that the Colts could knock the Chargers out of that playoff spot. So in this scenario, we're going to say the Colts do that and they knock the Chargers out of the playoff spot. The Colts will be 10-6, Chargers will be 9-7. So let's say that's what happens. So the Texans, I say they win out. They go 13-3. They got the Browns, Colts, Jets, Eagles, and Jaguars. I think they clean the slate. Unless the Colts pull one out of their ass and win. And if the Colts do and they win that game because they're playing pretty decent, that would shake things up. And I think they would definitely make the playoffs then. Because there ain't nobody else on that schedule that's going to stop them. The Texans are definitely the hardest team they got. So, what does this mean? This means that Kansas City would get the first seed at 14-2. Now, if the Chiefs do go 13-3, they still retain that first seed. And here's why. The Texans played the Patriots and lost. We played the Patriots and lost. The Texans lost by 7. We lost by 3. The Texans also played another team. Was it Cleveland? I think it was Cleveland, but we beat Cleveland too. So they cancel out. So Kansas City in the first seed, Houston in the second seed, Patriots in the third seed, Steelers in the fourth seed, Ravens in the fifth seed, and then the Chargers or the Colts at the sixth seed. And we're going to go with the Colts because we got the Chargers losing out. So the Colts. So what this means is Chiefs and Texans both get a bye. And then the wild card, you got the Colts at the Patriots, which is an interesting game. I thought the Colts played at the Patriots. They did, and the Colts lost 38-24. So the Colts would go to the Patriots or the Chargers, but we're going to say the Colts. Colts go to the Patriots. Ravens go to the Steelers. And that's because of the seed that they got going on there. That's how the seeding works. So that's my predictions. Colts playing at the Patriots. Ravens playing at the Steelers. Just shake things up. Why not? Let's go ahead and go for it all. The Colts are playing a little bit better football, and they really shot themselves in the foot when they went to go play New England. New England's kind of playing on the down low right now. They're playing a little bit worse than what they were before. That's a tough one right there. That's a tough game to predict. I'm going to say the Patriots do win because they're at Foxborough, and playing the Patriots in Foxborough in the playoffs is damn near impossible. Playing the Steelers on the road, the Patriots playing on the road, whole different story. Especially in the playoffs, they've been known to get beat by other teams. Ravens and Steelers. Oh my God. This divisional matchup is a complete dogfight. I don't know. I really don't. The Steelers are not playing their best right now, but they'd be playing at home. That's a huge question mark. Either way, regardless of which one wins, if the Patriots win, they are the better seed, so we will get the worst out of the two seeds. So that means we will either get the Ravens, the Steelers, or the Chargers or Colts. There is no possible way in this scenario we could play the Patriots unless we make it to the AFC Championship. So, because they are the highest seed. They cannot be the lowest seed. They just can't. They could get beat and we'd still play anybody else. If the Colts were to beat the Patriots, we would get the Colts, hands down. Or we would get whoever wins the Steelers and Ravens game. Personally, I think it would be the Steelers. So, let's say the Patriots and the Steelers win. Patriots would go to Houston. Steelers would come to Arrowhead. Or it could be the Colts coming to Arrowhead. And it could be the Ravens or Steelers going to Houston. Whoever would win that game. So there's your scenarios. Anything that happens past that point, I'm not going to say because I don't want to jinx it. Playing at Arrowhead's a blessing and a curse. Personally, if I think the if the Steelers came to Arrowhead, I don't think they'd win. If the Colts came to Arrowhead, I don't think they would win. The Patriots going to Houston, holy shit. That is a whole different ball game. Playing in Houston's a whole hell of a lot different than playing up there in Foxborough. And they only lost to the Texans, or they only beat the Texans by 7. It could be a lot different at home. I could see the Chiefs and the Texans playing in the AFC Championship. I really could. Do I see ourselves getting over that hump? I do. If we would have played the Patriots at Arrowhead, I think it would have been a little bit different. I really do. That home field advantage means everything in the playoffs. I can definitely see us, if any year we're going to get over the hump, it's this year. And this year would be the perfect year to do it because that'd put us right in the AFC Championship. And I could see the Texans doing that, but they would have to come to Arrowhead. So that's my predictions. Anything past that point, I'm not even going to go that far because we don't even know who's going to be there yet. So there you go. There you have it. There's my playoff predictions. Right now, I'm going to do the Week 13 picks, and I'm going to get out of here because I have a ton of stuff to do. So we're going to get to that.